Welcome back. David Limbaugh, I want to get back to this issue of supervision.
Yes. Well, Andy made the great point that the special counsel, there's few checks and balances against the special counsel. They have pretty much carte blanche authority. And I just want to make the point that makes it all the more important that they reveal things to these specially situated people like Devin Nunes in Congress on the investigatory committees, because Congress is a co-equal branch, and we have to have some accountability. Even if it remains secret as to the public, there has to be some check. There wasn't a check. I also want to make the point, special counsel is so broad-based, and they can do what they want under this umbrella of investigating anything. And the whole time, it has put a cloud on Trump's agenda for a year and a half. That's why that's another reason why we need to have its parameters tightened in the future.
As a matter of fact, on this issue of the parameters of the special counsel, I read 2 Justice Department memos. They've been out there for decades. It's been the position of the United States Department of Justice, 1973 and 2000, so half a century, really, pretty much. It's been the position of the United States Department of Justice, regardless of my opinion or yours or the world, that you cannot indict a sitting president. And they provide in exquisite detail why. One of them is this: you're dragging down a president of the United States when you're doing something like this. And imagine if he has to defend himself. You know, we all have rights under the federal Constitution. If you look at the Bill of Rights, due process and so forth, if the president is trying to be president, trying to defend himself, it's an impossibility, they point, among other reasons. Apparently, that's been the conclusion reached, we believe, Giuliani has said, by the special counsel's office. Then we get into this issue of subpoena. No president has ever been physically pulled in front of a federal grand jury. No president's ever been indicted. In fact, no president's ever been removed by the United States Senate, and that's the only way you can remove a president. And they point out in these memos, to give a prosecutor the power to indict and force a president in a trial is in effect a quasi-removal, or the movement towards a quasi-removal, where the prosecutor and the jury replace the Senate if a president's impeached. So let's go to the subpoena issue. How far can they take a subpoena if, in fact, they conclude, as the Department of Justice did, you cannot indict a sitting president? Well, you don't have – how does the subpoena process work?
Yeah, well, see, I think this goes back to David's point, Mark. You know, these guys are not an independent fourth branch of government, right? Mueller technically is an inferior executive officer. I don't know on what authority, if the president doesn't want to be subpoenaed, how does the inferior executive officer tell the chief executive, well, we're going to subpoena you anyway? And I think this goes to 2 points. One is, this is more of a political issue than a legal issue. You know, Trump could terminate this whole thing now if he wanted to as chief executive. He doesn't do that because of the political fallout, not because legally he doesn't have the authority to do it. And secondly, it becomes clearer and clearer. I mean, if you think about it, we didn't have a Justice Department until 1870, right? We didn't have an FBI until 1908. The framers didn't intend that federal prosecutors were going to rein in executive excess. They intended that Congress was going to do that. So the issue here has always been, since no one of Mueller's sophistication would ever think that he could have indicted the President of the United States, this has been about impeachment from the first day.
And if they can't indict, then they shouldn't be able to subpoena to examine him for the express purpose of incriminating him. You look at all those the questions that go to his state of mind. It was all designed to find out what he knew in a criminally culpable way. And I also want to say something, Mark. You and I go back some 20 years during the Clinton impeachment. You have been consistent about your position on whether a sitting president could be indicted, because I remember that's one of the first things you talked about. And that was against our political interests because we were not for Bill Clinton, and you've been consistent throughout on that.
And you have said from day one, and you've agreed, that this was always about impeachment. And I want to get to that point in a minute. We'll be right back.